this day of debate, the analysis. I don't know if we have the last of the analysts ready, Gonzalo Cañetes. And Gonzalo, I'm looking at you now. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you, Javier?
Well, the market, as I was saying with Javier, is practically immobile, and the one that is rising is the Bitcoin. Above $60,000, there is a strong rise, 66%, and I was just reading now that it is due in this case to a strong inflow in ETFs.
Yes, an increase in demand that is exceeding and moving up the price. We are less than $10,000 away from the historical maximum of Bitcoins. It is incredible. Well, what I always say, the year it did in 2020 has been spectacular. We have seen a Bitcoin that has become the behavior of one more financial asset, which responded as the market moved to a financial asset that has its own autonomy, which also seems to begin to function as that digital gold that it promised to be. That is, as a paradise of value for assets. And as we have commented more than once for years, Bitcoin was an escape valve for a monetary system in transition, because that is what we are seeing. A monetary transition towards a digitalized world in which the TBC will be the main protagonists, and where probably the only escape valve towards a system of total fiscal control will be that Bitcoin, which is simply a semi-anonymous system, because it is obviously all identified through a transaction code, but which makes more and more sense when we consider even the statements made by the French finance minister at the weekend, who proposed the mobilization of private funds, of the private savings of European investors. We do not know if this mobilization is through the usual routes of investment, which is to channel investment into sectors such as artificial intelligence, climate transition, green energy, but through the traditional investment routes or through the confiscation of financial assets. And probably in that context is where it makes more sense, those TBC projects of absolute fiscal control, where they do not even ask the citizen what he thinks, but they sanction him or block that money. And in that context, blockchain, obviously DeFi, all this kind of technology will probably be that antidote against a system of total control.
Yes. Thank you. Additionally, I am going to ask you briefly, in this case, for your view on the US economy. In a very brief way, as I say, seconds, because we are already running out of time. And if you like, later tonight at the close of Wall Street, we will analyze it in more detail.
Perfect. Look, we have already said several times, the worse, the better. There is a data that corrects downwards very little the US growth. This is positive for Wall Street because Wall Street is looking for bad data on the US economy to reaffirm the position of an interest rate cut that has been postponed. But on the other hand, the US labor market is highly strong. It is very strong. And as long as it is strong, wages will push higher. And therefore, the record or the fear of high inflation, which we will see tomorrow, is still active. And therefore, we should not rule out that that record high rate is still out there and it is still dragging on.
6.5 hours. I'll wait for you here for the Wall Street closing practice. Have a good afternoon. Thank you, Javier. Until in a while, we advertise and we return in a few moments in the news of the day and part of what is happening in the market already in time. Bila Connection. Stay tuned.